Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
The US dominance and a challenge to its economy and ideology. All individuals and states have always been trying to gain power to expand their power. Writers and international relations define politics as a struggle for power. In the present circumstances, no other state has much power as the USA has to control the actions of other states. And after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, the United States was the only superpower left in the world, and the last decade of the 20th century saw the hegemony of the United States in many spheres: its military strength, its economic capability, her political stability, and cultural superiority. There are three dimensions of US dominance. There are three factors which together constitute the US hegemony or dominance in world politics. US hegemony has hard power, its military strength, and the hegemony means the domination of one country and over the states. In ancient times, the overliving Athenian military strength made Athens the most powerful among the Greek city states. Military, the United States is the only nation which is has worldwide presence today, and with more than 700 military installations outside its territory, many of which they are fully developed military base. American can land its troops in just few minutes or in less than an hour or two in any part of the world. A team of US Special Forces soldiers flew in helicopters from Afghanistan to Abbottabad, and where they killed the Al Qaeda chief Osama bin Laden. Pakistan Air Force's radar system could not detect the movement of the American helicopters that participated in the 40-minute operation in May 2011. The US defense spending, the US military spending comes to nearly 36% of defense spending of the world as a whole. And US military budget exceeds that of the next 14 biggest powers combined, including China, Russia, France, Britain, and Germany, Japan, India, Saudi Arabia, and others. In 2004, US defense spending was 45.9 billion dollars, while that of China was $84.2 billion, and of Russia only 61.5 billion. The United States also accounts for nearly 40% defense production the world over. These four factors contributed to the building of US military capability: war technique, forces and arms, and her military intelligence and military leadership. Defense expenditure of USA and few other countries in 2004: 445 455.9 and 449.4. Current and projected military spending, like US in 2014 was 597, like 3.3%. It is USD billion percent of GDP 2015 and 30, and in 2030 it is estimated 967, 3.8 percentage. China 145, 1.8% at 627, it's 2%. India 48, 2.3%, 306 is estimated in the 2030, and Russia 65, that is 5.4%, 163, that is 4% estimated 2030, German 36.7, 1.2%, and 60.31%, and Japan 41, 1% and 61%, that is projected military spending estimated for 2030. American military dominance is both absolute and relative, and the United States can land its troops in any part of the world, whereas the US territories are protected from attack to the maximum extent. And it just goes to show that American military dominance is absolute, but America has a relative dominance also, as we have already seen. The US military budget exceeds that of the next 12 biggest powers combined, including Russia, China, Germany, France, and others. Military operation is undertaken for a wide range of tasks. Military power is used for these reasons: to secure victory in war, to deter the invasion or to make it ineffective, to punish the enemy, to maintain law and order in particular region. In fact, America's capacity to secure victory in a war and to punish her enemy is undisputed, but America has not been able to preserve law and order in the territories she took possession of. US hegemony as structural power on in the economic field. Affluence and economic resources have much to do with the US hegemony, and the United States has the status of being the largest economy of the world. Her geographical expanse, her mineral wealth, coal, iron, manganese, platinum, etc., her industries and technological innovations have all added to her structural influence. Why does government provide public and public goods and services? Public good a shared good or service for which it would be impractical to make consumers pay individually and to exclude non-payers. Benefit to individual is less than cost per individual. Total benefit to society is greater than the cost. US role in providing global public goods. Public goods are meant for everyone or every country to use. They included things such as high seas, unpolluted air and roads regarding economy of the world. Sea lanes of communication are very good examples of global public goods. They are the sea routes being used for import and export of goods by the merchant navy of different countries after the World War II. And the British naval power declined, and the United States assumed responsibility for keeping the sea routes secure. America's share in world trade, the United States accounts for nearly 15.5% of world exports. Most of the multinational companies are owned by America. Council Foreign Relations composition of US exports to China then and now. These are the three institutions: World Trade Center, the World Bank, and IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO. Bretton Woods is a place in the state of New Hampshire, USA. The representatives of 44 nations met at Bretton Woods in July 1944. They agreed to establish the International Monetary Fund and an international bank after the World War II. Thus, Bretton Woods system refers to the financial institutions established after the Second World War. The US dollar functioned as a key currency in the system, and World Trade Organization is an international organization that regulates trade between its member states. And these three bodies, the IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO, determine the basic structures and working of the world economy. An important key to the US dominance is her increasing domination of all these bodies. Windows software. No person other than Bill Gates or his nominee can make or sell Windows software produced by the Microsoft company. And the company has exclusive monopoly on this technique. See how smart game is this, smart business is this. And internet technique. Internet is also an example of the global public goods. The internet globalized international politics and business. And today internet is being used in every field, and whether it is the field of mass communication or that of security, education and entertainment. And both the things, like Windows software and the internet technique, both are essential these days. Without it, nothing is possible. Business administration, the business school of the world, as started by Pennsylvania University in 1881. The school was later called Wharton School, and thereafter many excellent business management institutions were established in America. Degrees obtained from these institutes were held in high esteem. Therefore, not only Asians and Africans but Europeans are also studying at American universities and business schools. Hegemony as soft power, cultural supremacy. Hegemony as soft power means the victory of American ideals of liberalism, democracy, and economism, freedom, and we may also call it America's cultural presence in all parts of the world. The Soviet Union disintegrated with it. The charm and inclination towards communist ideology also went on decreasing, but the US cultural strength is intact even now. In fact, it kept on expanding. One may get a glimpse of the US ideological and cultural dominance from the following few facts. Disintegration of Soviet Union led to decline in virtues of socialism, and nowadays much emphasis is being placed on building liberal political and social institutions. In the matter of eating and drinking, we often talk about Pepsi culture. What we call fast food culture was actually the result of a fast way of life. We make purchases at shopping malls and love to dine at McDonald's and Pizza Hut. In this context, we may also refer to jeans culture, wherein jeans had become the first choice of young men and women all over the world. Challenge to US economy and ideology. It would be wrong to think that there are no checks on American power. A number of factors operate as restraints on US economy and ideology. Today, China and European Union have emerged as the world's largest trading centers. So China has now become a major power speaking with a single voice in the European Union does had bargaining in trade transactions with even a superpower like USA, and it has established commercial relations with the Asian and African countries. The chairman of European Commission participates in G7 summits and influences the decisions taken at these meetings. The American aerospace and armaments industries have been challenged by stiff competition. Restrained on US ideology and culture, we do admit that the charm and inclination towards communist ideology decline much emphasizes in being placed nowadays on building liberal and democratic institutions. But USA does not have a monopoly on democracy and liberalism. The desire for freedom is a universal principle so far as culture is concerned. Cultural influences are never one sided, and globalization has resulted in cultural and pluralism. Jeans culture no doubt expanded, but at the same time, the demand of Indian kurtas and khadi wears also increased considerably in USA and other Western nations. South Indian masala dosa and Chinese noodles are highly popular in USA and the Western world. We regard the Indian, the Chinese, and Japanese cultures as three greatest cultures in Asia. The fear of these cultures being wiped out is unreal. India's relations with USA and independent India decided not to join any of the power blocs. The US led veteran bloc and the Soviet bloc on the Kashmir question. America and other Western powers took a stand that favored Pakistan. And on the other hand, an era of mutual trust, the friendship continued between India and the Soviet Union all these years. In 91, Soviet Union disintegrated, India continued her friend relations with Russia. At the same time, India retained best of economic and cultural ties with USA also. India-USA relations, seven areas of cooperation were: in 1990s, India reorganized the strength of a liberal and competitive economy. The government new permitted about 100% foreign direct investment in most sectors of economy, and this new factor brought India and USA closer to each other. There was much interchange of people and technologists between USA and India, and areas of cooperation between India and USA is the United States has been India's biggest trade partner. The bilateral trade between the two countries was worth $100 billion during the year 2013-14. The US purchases amounted to more than 65% of India's total export of computer software. The United States sees Asia, especially India, as a market of the future. More than 3 lakh Indians are working in Silicon Valley. The two countries consult each other on a number of subjects, including strategic cooperation, science and technology, health education, energy, and climate change. The two countries agreed to work together for ending terrorist networks, including Lashkar-e-Taiba, and 2006 US President and Prime Minister of India signed an agreement on nuclear energy. Later, this agreement came to be known as Indo-US Nuclear Deal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited America in September 2014, and Narendra Modi and President Obama agreed to bring together the business magnates and bureaucrats and scientists of the two countries. In July 2018, the US administration decided to give India Strategic Trade Authorization 1 STA 1 status. The status would enable India to acquire advanced US military equipment, and the status was so far being granted only to very close US allies. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Barack Obama at the White House on 30th September 2014. And three types of reactions. About India's relations with USA, there are three types of reaction among political analysts. Many political leaders and analysts are opposed to India's growing ties with USA. They are of the opinion that India should not support US policies of dominance. Many other writers and journalists hold a view that the two countries have many interests in common, such as cooperation in the field of science, technology, trade, and agriculture, and strategic cooperation. Both sides hold the same views on issues like containing China to prevent it from spreading its influence. India should exploit this situation to its maximum advantage. Many other analysts are of the view that India should try to build a support base for itself among the developing nations.